Hey, everybody. My name is Adolphus Pruitt, and I'm here with
Darryl Gray.
And as we said, what is the next episode?
You always say
call
episode.
it the episode.
Episode.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very interesting show for you today. And I think how we frame it out is this way. And then we'll bring on our guests. We'll frame it out this way.
Okay.
So, students at a middle school in New York were accused of coming to school and handing out cotton balls as favors to celebrate Black History Month. That's one. Then there's another one where, now this is black students.
Black students experience trauma from racist incidents at school. That's what the experts say.
But this one, these are black students, went to an elementary school and said they wanted reparations, so they grabbed some white students and physically dragged, punched, and beat them up.
Somebody doesn't know the definition of reparations.
They said they were going to but at another school, white kids took two students and said, we're going to George Floyd you.
Wow.
Put them on the ground
Wow.
and put their knees on their necks.
Wow.
And then this last one, then we jump into the show, give you a good example. A parent said her daughter came home from school missing hair and bloody hands after having her nails ripped off by bullies. And they said that, and they said if you're wondering where the security guard was, he had been fired after telling black student to kill herself because black people deserved it.
Wow.
Today's show is to talk about what's going on in these schools. Darryl, what's going on in our schools?
I heard a lady called it spiritual. What did she call it? Not spiritual trauma, but it was a spiritual nightmare that these kids. I mean, we can talk about education, but when we talk about the school system for children is more than just acquiring education. I mean, this is where you really develop the human being. And so you're absolutely right, Adolphus. It's been a nightmare. I don't think that what we're hearing and reading about is new. I think that we're at a point in society where people are really just talking about it, and we're in a better position, I think, to define it and explain it. I mean, like I said, there's a boldness to come forward.
Well, you're absolutely right. They said over the past 5 years, there's been a exponential uptick in racial exposure and incidents in the school. So we have a guest that we're going to keep anonymous. We're not going to get into names because we're working with her on some things. We're not going to get into the school and the kid's name, but you know, we all hear about this and read about this, but now we have a guest that's going to share her story with us firsthand. You're going to get a firsthand knowledge of an ideal of one of the incidents that goes on in these schools that she's experienced. Mother, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
You know, do me a favor. We're going to just turn you loose. What I want to do is I want you to tell Darryl your story. I've heard it. I want you to tell Darryl, Reverend Darryl Gray, your story, because by the time she finished, Darryl, you might have to pray for me because I'm probably going to say something that I ain't supposed to say on this station, and BJ is going to look at me and throw that mic over here and hit me in the head. But I get the sue out hard then, so that ain't such a...
But so listen, tell us the story. Well, no, tell our listeners your story.
Okay, I'm not sure where I should start because it's a long story, but I can just sum it up to the recent incident that has me here. So there were two boys who kind of bullied my daughter last school year. And excuse me if I get emotional, but they kind of bullied her last year. We went on a trip and She had bracelets and anklets from the trip, and she had them on, and they kind of walked past her in the hallway and was like, oh, those look like slave bracelets and anklets. And she said she kind of didn't hear them, but somebody else said it to her, and she kind of, waved it off, didn't say anything. So then they get in the classroom, and these boys get on top of the desk over her, and says that her name is a man, and they flip her hair, and we reported it to the school. They said they were going to have this whole process where that she would never have to see this boy again. They would have classes, they wouldn't have lunch, they wouldn't have passing periods. And fast forward to this year, she is in the same class with one of the same little boys. She is put in a group to work with them, and he is saying he says when he sneezes, instead of saying bless you, for them to say the N-word.
So
and the other
wait a minute, let me ask you a question. I'm gonna back you up for a minute. How old is she and what grade?
She is, at the time this happened, she was 15, so she was a freshman, and now she's a sophomore.
High school. Got it.
High
Got
school.
it. Got it. And I just want to make sure we won't just for this incident happened. She's in the same class, same room, and consistently, I guess, being traumatized by this person.
Correct.
Got it.
And it actually started in 8th grade, but she was afraid to say anything. So the same boy was doing this to her in 8th grade, and it was the end of the school year. And it was more so like, it's the end of the school year, you're going to start high school. And I'm like, what exactly did he say? And she was just like, well, he kind of just accidentally bumps into me in the hallway, or he does this or he does that. And I talked about, well, maybe he likes you, maybe he has a crush on you. And she's just like, well, no. And so we're like, okay, you're going to be a freshman. We're going to start fresh next year, so we don't have to worry about that. But she was scared to tell me that until this incident. So just fast forward, like I said, they told me this process was supposed to be in place. But she was in class with one of the same boys. He says that, and he goes even further to throw like something under her chair and has her ask her to hand it to him. She hands it to him, and he's like, well, now I got to wash all the black off my hands. There's 2 teachers in the class. Nobody heard anything except for the students that were close by. And my daughter was upset, crying, to the point where her teacher was like, what is going on? What's wrong? And she breaks down and she tells them, and she was so afraid to say something that this teacher was like, I'm going to walk down to the office. You're going to tell your story. I'm going to stand behind you and make sure something happens. And she's like, no, nothing is going to happen, because these boys did this to me last year, and they're still here. So, they even went to social media to slander her on social media last year. So she was afraid. We've blocked. She doesn't have social media. We've blocked all of that. And now she's so scared to say something, because she feels nothing is going to be done, that these boys are going to be able to go and slander her again. So she's like, no, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to say anything. So I had to leave work, go up there and tell her, no, you're going to say something. What happened? And so she tells us what happens. There's no sympathy. There's no, oh, wow. And it's like, no, you guys dropped the ball. She shouldn't even be in a classroom with this little boy.
Let me ask a question. You mentioned that, she told you that, this has happened before. What made you think that she finally told you, that she finally told teachers? What has she told you? What was that thing, that crossroad that she finally got to where she said, I've got to talk about this?
Because it's mentally draining. She's been ignoring comments. She's been ignoring, behavior that the kids are, putting towards her. She's been ignoring. So I think that she's kind of fed up, and she's just like, and I made her say something. I'm like, we have to talk about it. Because even last year it was mentally draining for me and her, just to see her cry and to see how afraid she was. And it's like, we don't have that type of fear in our heart for no man, for nobody. You speak on it. And I'm like, if I gotta bend over backwards to make sure that something happens this time, I will. Let me be your advocate. Let me be the one to say if we're going to say something or not. Don't ever be that afraid. And I think that they were just used to her not saying anything and them getting away with it. And then even last year, like I said, if the school took the proper process, these boys wouldn't even be in my eyes, even in school.
Hey, hold it right there. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come right back. Don't go anywhere, everybody. This is Point Black with Adolphus Pruitt.
Well, as Adolphus said, yeah, this is one of those shows where we're hoping everyone is paying attention. We have a mother on the line whose child has experienced something that no parent, I don't care what color, I don't care where they are, ever wants their child to experience. And that's just trauma and fear and isolation. And so, Mom, we're glad that you're telling your daughter's story. We're glad you're telling it. I've got another question, Adolphus, to Mom. Did any other students, when your daughter finally came forward, when your family came forward, did any other students come forward? Are there, any other incidents, stories, reports of any other children of color experiencing this type of behavior and attitude within that particular school?
I'm not really sure. I did try to ask, like, some of her friends, and they were more so, girl, keep your head down and, be quiet, and it's just like, okay, but that's not what's in me, and so I don't think they're woke to the discrimination part of it. It's like, I'm just glad to be out here and my kids can go to this, somewhat okay school. So I'm not going to make a big deal if it is, So I don't know if there were any other students that are going through this.
Okay. And I'm sorry, because Adolphus knows a little bit more about it than me, and I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. When you said that you went to the school authorities, and don't get me wrong, I keep telling folk, all skin folk ain't kin folk, but the administrators that you spoke to, and without going into the name of the school, but are we talking about a predominantly white school?
Correct. Yes.
The administrators that you went to, white or black?
White.
Okay. And you're telling us that the response that you got obviously was less, not just less than favorable, but you feel that it didn't help the situation, but it actually heightened the situation, exacerbated the situation with your daughter.
Correct.
Pruitt, we talk about this, Mom, and as I said at the top of the show, I wish I were surprised, but I'm not.
But Mother, here's a unique thing. There was an article we found where there's some experts take a look at this issue, and they wrote this, and and it stood out when I thought about the show today. It said that when black students experience racism, they are often just as hurt by the teachers who stand by and say nothing as they are by the perpetrator. They said black students need to know that their teachers will stand up for them and that acts of racism are not their burden to carry alone. And so I mentioned that because I thought earlier you mentioned that her teacher, when teacher saw her crying and stuff, her teacher said, we're going to walk down here and you're going to report this and stuff. Did I get that right?
Correct.
And has her teachers been supportive like that all along, or it just since once they found her crying and stuff, you don't know if she ever went and reported it to the teacher or not.
Right. So this particular teacher, she kind of likes and enjoys and says that he's really nice. So she hasn't had, I don't think those type of conversations, but I guess to clearly see that how upset she was, it was just more so like, we can't just not say anything because you clearly are to the point where she wasn't even able to finish her sentences. And he was like, come on, let's walk down to the office together. And they had to call me because she just refused to say anything. Like, she was just like, no, I don't want to, because of the harassment and the retaliation that she got on social media after initially telling the first time.
So let me go. So the first time, this is not the same teacher that administrator she told it to the first time when they retaliated on social media, or is this the same school, same grade, all of that's the same?
Same school, not the same teacher.
Okay.
Same principals. And so the principal was aware of the situation. The principal was the one who told me that they would put a process in place so that she basically, to avoid the little boys, that's how, it was like a bandage. Oh, we'll just make sure that they're never in the classrooms together. They'll never have a lunch period and stuff like that. And at the time I was like, and she, in so many words, was saying, well, I can't tell you what what the discipline process is, but I can let you know that she won't see them for so many days, and then after this, she'll never have to have a intimate or a personal setting with these boys. And so that wasn't true.
For me, Mom, in my head, I'm trying to. First of all, our heart goes out to you and your family. And as we said, at the top, for me, I'm not surprised. I wish I were. I think that when we as parents make a decision, and I think that we all make that decision, or at least want to give our children the absolute best. And I think sometimes it means, we take them out of the environment, we take them out of the community. We'll go to a private school. We'll go to a charter school. We'll go to a school that we feel that based upon the dollars that we're spending, that our children they're gonna be better. They're gonna be in a better environment. They're gonna be safe. No metal detectors. None of all of this. And then we turn around, Mom, and then we hear, too often, as Black students are preparing for the academic stress that they already have to deal with in the types of school environments that we're talking about. It's already going to be academic stress, that the psychological stress that comes along with it, and then the racial stress, and so, as you said, you're already going into a situation where many times you have this sense, this lack of belonging within that environment. And now you're saying, with all of the other stress that your child had to deal with, now they've got to deal with the racism in this environment. It's almost like I'm saying as a parent, if I send my child to a private school or a school that costs a little bit more money, in my mind, I think that I'm thinking that I'm going to get my child away from some of this stuff. And that's
and in actuality, the stories we got show where it happens at the private schools, and it's even worse.
Yes.
And they say a school, and we had one article where the school tuition was like $58,000 a year, and these Black students were just treated horribly by the. But listeners, just so you understand the extent of what we're talking about. There's a report released by the Governmental Accountability Office. So this is the government. This is the Government Accountability Office. That's your federal government. That's our D.C. folks. They estimated that 5.2 million students aged 12 to 18 were bullied in school last year. 1 in 4 of them experienced bullying related to race, national origin, religion, disability, gender, or sexual orientation. Then they say in the same school year, the report says there were 1.6 million students who were subject to hate speech. Among those, half of them was targeted by race. So, I mean, and by the way, they said this report comes from them surveying more than 1,500 schools. those are some significant numbers. I mean, it's some very significant numbers. But mother, let me ask you this: your daughter, you get called. She comes you get to the office. The teachers got her down there. You finally got her to talk and stuff in this. Let's talk about your fight. At that point in time, I know you became Mike Tyson, not physically, but you became Mike Tyson and said, okay, ding, 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 ding.
And we're not talking about the Mike Tyson that bit the air off now, Mama. We talking about which Mike Tyson we talking about, Pruitt?
Well, pig ears are good, man. I like a good pig ear sandwich, man. Mustard and some pickles and onions.
We're not saying which stage of Mike Tyson's life, Mom, but we're talking about, when you got in that ring, Mom, how?
Let's talk about your story. I want you to educate the parents on your fight back. Yeah. What happened from the time you got there and heard all of this and what you've been doing since?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it's a mental toll. So mentally, I was like, again, okay. So it's just like now to the point where this has happened again to her. The school didn't do anything, and I'm like, okay, I can't pick up and just leave, and move. I need them to know that when it comes to this one, no, that's not gonna happen. Y'all gonna do right. Y'all gonna do the process right. If you say you're gonna create a process, a process is gonna be created. So I started Googling. I started reaching out to people in my personal network. And they were telling me the process. They were like, hey, why you ain't, I wish you would have been told me that. I wish you would have been said something, because this is what you need to do. And I called the Civil Rights Office under the Department of Education, and I filed a complaint there. And they told me to wait until the process was done with the school for me to forward in each communication that I've had with them, to forward it with them. I Googled up different cases that have happened within the school, and it's just kind of like, wow, didn't realize that, because this is public information. You can go on the website and you can see all of the cases that have been filed, what it was. Was it racism? Was it discrimination? And you can see per school, and it's a lot out there. Initially, so I felt like I wasn't alone. I don't know how much I can say, but in the process of speaking with an attorney, and also possibly filing a police report, because now bullying is considered a felony.
No, I'm glad Pruitt asked that question, because I think what you're saying to our listeners is that there is a way to fight back.
Yes.
And I know that Pruitt mentioned Tyson, but he's right. There is a way to fight back. And the things that you've listed, most of our listeners may not know. They may not know that there are things, there are processes, as you said, the Civil Rights Office, getting public information, Googling, doing your research, legal action, going to the police. I like that, Pruitt, because you asked, okay, as a parent. Because I know back in the day, my mama would have showed up with a broomstick and an old house coat, and it would have been hell to pay all up in there. I mean, seriously, I'm talking about seriously.
For messing with their little Darryl.
Yeah, I'm talking about seriously.
Oh, ain't that
That's
nice?
how mama would have showed up. But I'm glad that, like you're saying, that mom is saying, wait a minute. Now maybe, mama didn't say she wouldn't show up like that, but she said that the way that she showed up is that she said, listen, there's a way for me to deal with this. And I'm glad, because when you do that, you let other people know that there is help.
But the one thing she said that's unique.
What's that?
And I think every listener, if you got a child in school going through anything, if they're not, you should do it.
Yeah.
She Googled to see if there have been previous incidents in that school and in that district.
Yeah.
And to her surprise, you found some. Eureka. Yeah. This is going on. And I think that going forward, I think parents, as your kids are going to these school districts, you should do that going in. Not to say that you should turn around and not send them there, but it'd be great to know what sort of environment. So when you Googled and that came up, what did that say to you? What did you, when you like, wow, what the heck?
Where I've been sending my
Right,
child to.
Right. It was like, well, not that if I had known before, because like I said, I made decisions based off of certain things, but I think I would have came in it a little bit different, not so, I guess, oh, we're out here, it's a great, great day in the neighborhood type of attitude. I would have had more of a mean mug type of, okay, what did the teacher say? Like, I would have addressed some of those situations like that, but just not thinking. And like I said, if I could, I would, do a more diversified area, but the curriculum, and we're in Missouri, one of the worst public school curriculums there is. So it's just kind of like, you gotta, pick your battles. And this one is whatever I gotta do. I definitely want to see this one through, because there's multiple situations I can give you, and it's just like, well, why haven't you? And it's just like, you don't know. If you don't know, you just don't know. And it's like, I think I got to deal with it. And, you call them, you're trying to talk as proper and as, pleasant to them as possible, but it doesn't stop the situationals from happening. So.
But don't your daughter's in a school district that has I guess a civil rights person or somebody that's designated to deal with these issues?
I'm not really sure if they're designated to deal with it, but they gave me an assigned person, and I spoke with him. He's not in the civil rights office, though, but he's an administrator within the school district.
And how did that go? How effective was that?
I don't know. I think I was very emotional, and it was like very monotone, and I kept reinforcing and telling him that I only wanted to communicate with him in writing via email. You could send me a letter, you can email me, but I did not want to not have everything that he was saying and everything I was saying not documented. But he kept wanting to go off the script, like, hey, can I call you today? And it's like, no, you're more than welcome to email me, and I'll be able to answer any questions that you have via email, and it was like, well, I just need to get more information. Is it okay if I meet with you and your daughter? And it's like, no, if you do, this is going to be recorded, so we can meet. I can come up there. I can take off of work and come up there and record the conversation, but we're not going to speak off of like written documentation. But he kept trying to do that. And he asked me what I wanted the outcome to be. And I wanted this little boy to be expelled, because this is a repeat action. And he came back and asked me, did I know the definition of expel? That means that this boy will never be able to come back to school, and is there any other consequence that I would accept?
Well, listen,
I felt like it was really biased.
I mean, I'm glad you're going through that process, and my hope too is that that process will bear fruit. As we think about it, Adolphus, we talked about a couple of shows ago how the school board, there was a school district in Houston, Texas, that the government of Texas, the legislature, was trying to take it over. Basically, white male legislators trying to take over a predominantly black school district. I think for a lot of ways, Pruitt, I think that we've abdicated our responsibility. When I say we, community leaders, be it civil rights leaders, religious leaders, I think that we need to begin to show up in these school board meetings more often to let these parents know. All the parents are not going to be like this parent that we're talking to today, who had the wherewithal, who thought it through, who was able to go through that process. We've got so many more parents who don't understand that, and they're going to need somebody to kind of walk through that process with them. And I think that, like I said, when I was growing up, and I keep telling my age, I'm a little bit older than most of the folk in this studio, that the preacher used to come to the school board meetings. The president of the local civil rights organization used to come to the school board meetings. Somebody was there to pay attention to what was being said as it related to curriculum, as related to employment, as related to how children were being dealt with. Parents who were there realized that they were not there by themselves. And so, I'm a big advocate. I'm a preacher. So I'm going to say, pastors need to, the same way you do hospital visits, you need to go visit the school board the same way. You need the school board meetings, parent-teacher meetings for parents who may not feel equipped emotionally, mentally, educationally, academically equipped to deal with teachers. We need to show up. We need to start doing that because, like I said, every parent, Adolphus, is not going to have the wherewithal to think it through like this mother did. And as you said, unfortunately, this is not the only child that's dealing with the racial slurs and the bullying and everything else. And parents and students alike need to know that they're not out there by themselves.
So Mother, there's a question. Did you get any sense from your discussions with them that they had any guidelines on how to deal with racial incidents in the school involving kids? Did you get a sense that they had any playbook, any guideline, anything? Did you get a sense of it one way or another?
I didn't think that the initial principal who I talked to, I don't think that she was equipped with it. Another principal kind of heard her walking past the room, and he jumped in and was like, hey, this is what we need to do. Like, they were not aware of what the complete process was. They had to call me back, and they just weren't, it wasn't like at the tip of their fingers, like to say, you know what, we do apologize, but this is our process, this is what we're going to do, XYZ. They just did not have that.
They don't have a diversity, inclusion, racial equity, anti-racism policy plan at their school.
But the point I'm getting at is, if the child had failed or somebody hit the child physically, there's a process. They know that's what they do. The child has go into a seizure. Handbook. There's a process.
It's definitely in their handbook what they should do, what level and tier it is, but have they handled it full force and had somebody on their line saying, hey, look, what are you going to implement this policy that you have in your handbook?
Oh, so wait,
because it says in their handbook that that's what they would do. They would expel at a tier or a level 3, and this is what this is.
Oh wow!
So no, I want to be clear. So in their policy, in their student handbook, there is a zero tolerance policy on racism or racially insensitive behavior and activity. Is that spelled out, or are we just talking about hate?
It's not spelled. Right, it's not spelled out. The way that it is listed separately. So all of that is listed separately, and I believe if it's combined on top of everything else, like this situation is, where he physically touched her, he repeatedly did the same thing, then it would, override some of that stuff, and which would the final decision would be, up until, how it says up until expulsion. And so that's what I was calling for, because it was kind of like, okay, but it says that in your handbook, it doesn't have an asterisk there. It doesn't say unless this, but it says that in the handbook.
Hold on for a minute, Mom. We're going to have to take another quick break. I tell everybody every week, I keep telling people, BJ got car payments, so we're going to have to take a break. We're gonna have to go ahead and get a commercial break in, but y'all stay tuned to Point Black. This is a conversation that parents with children in school need to hear. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We're back.
I told you about that.
We're back.
You're gonna have to come up with something better than The Shining. Remember The Shining with Jack Nicholson?
Okay.
You're gonna have to come up with something better than We're Back. Because I'm looking for an axe every time you say it. You're gonna mess around.
Okay. We're black.
Yeah, we're black. All right. Good one. That was good.
We're black.
We're good.
We having a good conversation with a parent, but here's what I want to make sure we get in, and listeners, the reason why this conversation with this mother and what she explained, the trauma and the stuff her daughter was going through, the reason why this conversation is so important is because what Charity Brown Griffin, a certified school psychologist and associate professor of psychological sciences at Winston-Salem State University, said. She did a study, and the study she released last month found that young adults who experience discrimination about their bodies, race, and sex have a greater risk of dealing with mental health problems than those who do not. those who face discrimination frequently, at least a few times per month, are 25% more likely to be diagnosed with a mental disorder and twice as likely to develop severe psychological distress than people who didn't experience discrimination or did less often, according to this study in the journal Pediatrics. It says the findings mirrors what experts have said about the effects. Wait a minute, I'm gonna repeat that. The findings mirror what experts have said about the effects that discrimination and hostile behaviors have on children. Experience a negative racial climate at school can impact K-12 students in a number of ways, including lower grades, lower engagement, and their mental health. Let's be clear. Lower grades, lower engagement, and a mental health. And mother, it sounds why this does not specifically speak to what your daughter went through, but I'm quite sure that you can talk to us a little bit about how you think this experience has impacted her so psychologically, mentally, overall. How you think it's impacted you? Because you knew your daughter before this and you know her now.
Yeah, I think that it has definitely affected her. And so we're in the process of, uncovering those layers.
Got it.
Okay.
Having her talk to someone, because it had the way that she was shook up. And when you see your baby like that, and it's just like, I did want to fight, but I was so mad at her for not wanting to be like, I'm telling on them, and so it has affected her. But on a positive note, she now wants to be an attorney. She wants to fight for justice for people. And we got her signed up for a program for her to start this summer. So she wants to do that type of thing now. And she's like, oh, Black Lives Matter. She's all about that now. And she's studying and looking up laws, and it's important for her to know her rights and what you can do. And so this whole process, I've kind of sat her down, and she's been involved. I've opened up the doors and say, look, this is what I'm doing. I'm talking to Mr. Pruitt at the NAACP. I made her look you up to see what you do and what you're about to, so that she can have the knowledge that I just did not have until now, basically. And so it was negative, but I'm trying to turn it into a positive.
Yeah, but you got but what I love the fact is you got her engaged in the fight with you, and you got her engaged where she's doing it in a way where it's not only productive, but more than anything, it's strategic.
And it is strategic, and I think that it's empowering for her too, Mom. That she still needs to know that whatever's taken place, that the words and the actions have not taken away her humanity, her dignity, her self-worth, her self-determination. And even though you're there to support her, is that there are things that she can still do herself. And I think you're right. I think it is important for people to know. And you've got students, man, like your daughter, Mom, who are rising up, students who are walking out of class. In Oregon, there was one high school where students staged a walkout in protest of a video on social media that showed students using racial slurs. These students said, "No, we're going to walk out." You've got another situation in Minnesota. Dozens of students attended a protest and solidarity event in Minnesota after a racist video was shared widely on social media. You've got another situation in Michigan where the parents of a 15-year-old black student filed a $150 million class action federal lawsuit against school officials on behalf of their daughter after several students protested over their school district's response to a racist message being plastered on school walls. And there are others. This isn't new. I think it's good news. We need to let our listeners know, Mom, thank you so much for your story and for standing by your daughter, which we wouldn't doubt you would do anyway, but more so for your daughter, standing up for herself and realizing that there's something that she can do. Our children need to know that they're not alone, but if any moment they turn around and they don't see mom and daddy on the front line, or someone like an Adolphus Pruitt or a Coffee Wright or a Darryl Gray or a brother, whatever, whoever, however, that they can stand.
You know, have you had a chance to talk to any of the parents out there, or the parents sort of talking to each other about this and trying to get together, or have you been mainly just trying to deal with this situation more specifically before you reach out?
Creating a support group?
Well, yeah, I guess support, but just other parents, or you all talking about it?
No, I haven't talked to any other parents. Like I said, when we first initially came out here, I tried to talk to my daughter's friend's mom just to get like her feel of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was more like a hush hush, you know, like they would like he said, everybody ain't, you know, she wasn't my type of black, if that makes sense. So she was more so like, oh no, we don't talk about that, you know.
Wait a minute, she is not my type of black. Oh, Mom, I got to stop you on that one. Wait a minute, because that was a good one. I haven't heard that one before. She said she is not my type of black. That's the same thing as I said. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. All right, Mama.
So wait a minute. I want to repeat that. I know much y'all want to hear that.
Yeah.
She's your daughter and her daughter are friends.
Come on, say that.
You sharing with her what's going on, and this and that, and she's saying, "Well, you know, we don't want to talk about that."
Yeah, we don't.
Are you kidding me?
We don't want to cause any trouble out here.
Yeah. She said we don't, we don't want to. You know, we just don't want to cause any issue. You know, we moved. We came from. They came from down south somewhere, and she was like, yeah, we just, you know, we tell our kids, you know, they go to school and behave.
Wow.
They, you know, keep they, you know, they play the sports and I was like, okay, so you haven't had any type of interaction like with the, you know, as far as discrimination, you don't. It's just we don't, you know, we don't look at stuff like that. We just, you know, we just keep it hush, and you know, I was like, oh, wow,
and she's
okay.
black. She's black.
Yeah, but we get it, y'all. Black. Listen. I mean, it's real. We understand that it's real. Yeah. But I agree with Adolphus. I think for your sake and your family's sake, I think that you need to keep searching for like-minded people. And the other side of it is, sis, to be honest, those like-minded people don't necessarily have to be black.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. I agree 1,000%.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you can identify people who understand, you know, what you're saying, who support what you're going through. They may never experience it themselves, but you need to find some allies.
So one other thing is this: I remember you got they did not separate your child from this other child. Going backwards a little bit, and they realized this. Can you talk about? They sent you an email. Can you talk about the school? What was their response when they figured out that what they claimed they was going to do, they didn't do?
The school didn't have a response. They told me, since I was going through the administrator, that I needed, I guess, to go directly through him, and their hands were out of it. But when I told the attorney with the civil rights, the Department of Education, he told me that I needed to tell them directly that I was fearful for my child's safety, and they needed to do something until they had a determination. So they needed to put something in place. And that is when my daughter started telling me she no longer, you know, saw the little boy any longer.
Okay.
And they sent you something telling you that they messed up, right?
Right. They did send me that they finished their investigation, and they found out that they did violate the Title 13 policy, and they were going to implement this same process that was supposed to be implemented last year, which to me isn't okay, because that was supposed to happen last year. And now I want to go above and beyond now, because I was okay with it last year. It did not happen. So now I'm looking for something more.
Now here's what's unique. They said they realized that they violated Title 13, which means they know what the incident is, and they know what they're supposed to do and
Right.
respond to it.
Right.
And I got to look at Title 13 again, because it would be interesting to understand what part of Title 13, was it them just simply the separation, or did Title 13 deal with racism at all? So we had to take a look at that. Wait, Darryl, we're running out of time, of course.
Man, listen. First of all, Mom, again, our heart goes out to you and your family. I'm glad that your daughter looked up Mr. Pruitt, because he and his organization do amazing work. We want our listeners to know that you are not by yourself. When your children come home and tell you these stories, don't play it off. Take that stuff serious. And if you feel uncomfortable or ill-equipped to respond to it, there is the NAACP, or go to your local pastor, imam, rabbi, whomever it may be, and get that help that you need. Please don't think that you have to deal with this alone. Or you can call our radio show. Listen, it's Point Black. You can go to the iHeartRadio app anytime. There's a little mic over at the top. You press the little mic, hot mic, and tell us what's going on with you, or any questions or concerns, and Adolphus will respond. Remember, I answer all the easy questions. Adolphus answers all the hard questions. That's been our time here at Point Black. We're glad we have BJ in the studio. We got Craig. Adolphus, always the lead guy. You know, I just help Adolphus out.
And
we
that
got
sounds
some
like
more
a
folk in
liability.
here.
That sounds like you're
Listen,
putting a liability on me.
keep tuning in to Point Black.
We out.